Somebody just told me that.
And now...
I won't say the same joke as I said on the other one.
Okay, good. I'm glad. Boy, you remember. Good. Because
it was a good one, though.
It was great. And then he said to me, you know it's from the Ruddles, which I had forgotten.
What was?
The Trousers.
Oh. Oh, no, I was thinking of another one. They said, it's 25 years since EMI signed it. And I said, well, that time they gave us some royalties then.
No, you didn't tell us that one. That's a good one. But why do you think, I mean, you just said there's the 20 years ago, the Sgt. Pepper thing on Granada that Derek worked on. And let's face it, George, everybody is still fascinated by the Beatles.
Yeah, let's hope they buy my new album.
Well, you are one of the fourth.
I know. But they're into, you know, a lot of people that just get stuck on something that's a craze. And then they don't see that, you know, it takes all these other bits that make that, you know. I think a lot of people would, you know, if you put out a record and call it the Beatles, you'd have all these people who'd rush out and buy it regardless of if it was a load of rubbish, you know, because, you know, of the name. It's like, you know, Michael Jackson. They say, oh, let's go and get it because it's him, because it's them. Without, you know, I mean, the Beatles did some good things, but they also did some rubbish too.
I don't know if I'd agree with you.
Oh,
but...
yeah, my new album's much better than anything the Beatles ever did. Buy your copy now.
You talk about them like they are someone else.
They are.
You don't feel like, I mean, that was you.
Yeah. I suppose it was. But it's so long ago, you know, it's like a previous incarnation.
But yeah, you sound so much more close to when you talk about the days before you were famous. You got very enthusiastic about talking about playing the clubs and what that was like.
Well, because that was when we were a band. When we became the famous Fabs, it was really all over. Sort of that aspect of just being a group playing and what we're going to do and where we didn't have to care, where we could drink and just, you know, just be up there being a rock band in our leather suits. And later we had to be, you know, we became popular and all this stuff happened where we sang the same songs a lot. We still had a laugh. It was still good fun though. But, you know, that side of it, of playing like as a musician, lost the edge there because we just play the same tunes that we play recorded. Go around the world singing the same 10 songs, and every year we'd lose one and add a new one. And it was got a bit boring being Fab.
Yeah, but I think we all, you know, those of us here who went.
Yeah, but you'd only see one show at a time. You see, we did it every night. You know, she loves you, woo. You think you've lost your love, you know. You say, oh God, not again.
What about playing clubs? Have you considered that at all? Because you said the whole hoopla of doing a tour is so tough.
I think what I like to do is play in somewhere like the Holiday Inn in Minnesota or somewhere, you know, somewhere where nobody goes, or there's just a few old people in the corner who don't know who you are. And then you can just be, you know, ding-a-ding-a-ding, and just play, have a few friends there and a few beers on the piano and do that kind of thing. The pressure, you know, of people expecting you to do something, you know. I mean, it's a wonder we didn't all go bananas, really, because, I mean, just say for that instance, that Prince's Trust, it was bad enough me and then Ringo. If you imagine Paul there as well, people are they're expecting to hear, you know, whatever. I don't know what they're expecting to hear, but we could never deliver that, you know. Can't deliver the goods. And on one hand, you've been so put in a little box and looked at through microscopes, and till the point where you could be the most paranoid people in the world, afraid to go anywhere and to play guitars with other people, and suddenly you have to come back out and just try and be ordinary. I mean, that's the thing, is try to be just an ordinary person and play a few tunes, but they won't let you do that. They want you to come out there with flames coming out of your fingers, singing all these wonderful things that don't really exist. You know, it's just all in the concept of what it was.
Well, they're as much a part of that as you are. And you're past that, and they're past that, too. I mean, my memories of the Beatles are as much a part of what I was doing at that time as what you were doing
But
at that time.
then's then, and now's now,
Exactly.
and it sort of doesn't work anymore.
I've always said at Beatle Fest, if any of you showed up, people would probably actually ignore you because you really don't have anything to do with it. You know,
it's like that. We don't have anything to do with it. It's like they've got this attitude like public domain, you know, as if we're some old thing like Mozart who died years ago, and so we can all have T-shirts and, you know, rip them off and sell their manuscripts in Sotheby's, and, you know, everything that happened to the Beatles, all these things we're forever trying to, you know, have lawsuits against people, Beatlemanias and all that stuff. It's unfair, really, because they all have this attitude that, you know, the Beatles were just so big, and like it's like Mozart. It's just something which we can all have, and but there's only 4 people it has nothing to do with, and that's John, Paul, George, and Ringo. Everybody else is in there grabbing and, you know.
Yeah, you belong to us, right.
Yes.
Okay, switch tape. Probably, yeah. Now, as a filmmaker, from this perspective, looking back on A Hard Day's Night, Help, and Let It Be, which you were a star of, you think they were good movies?
I think Hard Day's Night and Help, yeah, under the circumstances. First of all, like Hard Day's Night, we were, you know, everybody likes to make a movie, but we've just made a few records, got popular, now we're making a movie. They got a writer who met us for like 3 days and wrote the script, and I think the magic about it was at least he picked up the idea, the vibe of what was happening on the road and translated that into it wasn't brilliant, but it was adequate. And considering we were all pretty useless at acting, I think Dick Lester, you know, should take a lot of credit, because it was his ability and his experience with comedy that he'd done before with Spike Milligan and Peter Sellers and stuff. He had a great sense of humor, and he had the great ability to let us be what we were. And I think that all worked out good, and there was plenty of songs, catchy little tunes, and that was fine. I think Help, you know, had to step up a bit, and it was a big color film, but it's still pretty funny, even it's in a slightly dumb way. That's why I keep referring to the Ruttles. You know, the Ruttles to me, you know, well, The Hard Day's Night and Help is very Ruttly. And I think they worked out. The other one you mentioned, which was really supposed to be us rehearsing to make a record, and they were just filming the rehearsal, and that turned into the movie. You know, Let It Rot, as the Ruttles was called. That, you know, I didn't like that. There's scenes in it, like on the roof, that was quite good, and there's bits and pieces that's okay, but most of it just makes me so aggravated I can't watch it, because it was a particularly bad experience that we were having at that time, and it's bad enough when you're having it, let alone having it filmed and recorded, so that you've got to watch it for the rest of your life. I don't like it.
Like reliving an accident.
Yeah,
Can we do that again?
It's terrible, yeah.
Could you show me that accident one more time? Are you going to work on Ringo's album?
If he wants some silly guitar playing.
How about producing a couple tracks? I know Elton's
I think
doing
Elton's doing, yeah.
Yeah.
I've told Elton it's very nice of him to do that. And if if I'm around, I'll certainly join in and help him out, if you could call it that.
Can you tell us a little bit about you are self-deprecating these days, I must say.
Well, sure, I'll help him.
All right, I'll make it work. Right.